In this video, we are cleaning up the disaster of a trunk, as well as continuing work on the convertible add-ons. If you go on to enjoy the video, please consider subscribing. It's free, it helps me out a lot, and if you don't like it, eventually you can unsubscribe. Thanks guys, enjoy the video. The first thing that I'm doing is marking off areas to cut off from the back of the convertible add-on. These areas stuck up above the roof, so when you looked at the car from the front, it looked weird just seeing a couple things stand out. It was really tacky and it was time to clean that up. I ended up reusing the excess parts that I'd cut off just with a bit more trimming so it fit to what I wanted. Doing this saved me a whole bunch of time and effort, not to mention a little money, and whenever you could just reuse the part that's already there instead of having to create something from custom, it ends up coming out a whole lot cleaner and nicer, so very fortunate in this case. So for those of you who haven't seen many of the other videos before, the reason I'm using wood glue is because this is made out of particle board as a base, so it just makes a really strong bond is the best way, and then afterwards I can go over with another sealer if I need, and then the filler. So I broke out the big boy toys for this one using a belt sander, which ground through a lot really quickly and helped get the flat edges, but the belt wasn't that great and I didn't have an extra one lying around. So I switched back to the old sander that I had, and honestly it wasn't that great just because this pads keep falling off, so it's really annoying, which all that to say, I'm in the market for a new one. So if you have one in mind or one that you think is really great that I should look at, go ahead and leave it down in the comments below and I'll take a peek at it. So time to upgrade the tools that I have. What I'm doing here is I'm using a thin layer of filler to fill in all the pinholes that were exposed last time that I primed it. So just spread it super thin and push in hard and make sure all the little holes get filled. Something I wanted to mention was that I'm not using traditional Bondo filler, as you could tell by its yellow and not the pink color. So this is so much easier to sand than another filler, which I highly recommend because bodywork is a very tedious process, and so all the time and effort that you could save making sanding easier, that's just something that really helps in the long run. Even though it's a little more spendy, I find the time saved is worth more than the money spent. Anyone who's done any body or paint work will tell you that prep work is key. It's most of the job right there can be determined by the prep work that you do. So what I'm doing here is I'm prepping the surface to add a pinhole filler, which seems like it might be a little excessive, but with all the dust that we've created from sanding, the pinhole filler sticks to dust really easily. So if there's any dust at all in the pinholes, it'll just come right out and not fill anything, and it'll just be a waste of time. So that's what I'm doing here, going over with a heat gun to make sure it's dry so I don't have to wait the extra time for it to dry. Also, check out the t-shirt, Phil's Super t-shirt. Check them out in the link below. You should get one. They're pretty heckin' dope. Not gonna lie, I wear mine a lot. Alright, let's let's back to the video. At this point, I'm going to go over the entire back with 220 grit sandpaper, which is why I'm not doing just the red filler areas that I just done. So this just makes sure that everything is down and smooth enough so the primer can stick to it really well, and also not too rough that you're seeing all the sanding lines. Here I'm just trimming off some excess pieces that kept bumping into the back of the convertible soft top when I would lower it, so that's all this is. I'm just going over this with just one quick layer of primer. I just want to be able to have it all black again and to be able to see any areas that I missed exposed. There's more work still to do, so that's why I'm not too concerned about getting a bunch of layers on at the moment. So onto the trunk. I started by trying to remove the back trim pieces, which you might notice I may or may not have broken right there. So that led to a design change in the future that we're doing, but for the moment I'm just getting them off and then started to put a little paint stripper on the car so we can get the paint that's there stripped right off. I let the stripper sit for about 3 hours and it was still wet, so it hadn't dried, but it couldn't get any of the blue paint off for whatever reason. I'm not sure why it just wouldn't get it off. It was a thick layer and it sat for a long time, but did nothing. It did well with that primer, gray primer that you saw on the left, and it actually cleaned up a bunch of the body filler gunk that I got on there. So it did help a lot, but it really didn't strip the entire paint off like I was expecting it to. At this point, I just decided to take out the trunk, wash off the paint stripper, and then just go about it the normal way that you would with just sanding, filling, and making it smooth from there. So the design redo that I decided to go with was that I was going to put the trim on, seal it all in, and then just make it one full smooth trunk, because I have an idea that I'm going to do with the taillights as well that I'll save for later that will really mesh with this look. So I think this is the best way to go, making it a really clean, smooth look. Something that I wasn't expecting from working on the trunk was getting rejuvenated with the whole idea of bodywork. Doing so many custom parts, it just gets super tedious no matter how hard you seem to try and the hours that you put in. It doesn't really end up quite exactly the way you want it. But when doing something like this where I'm working on a flat surface, I'm able to fill it and it sands pretty much smooth the first time, which is really gratifying and makes me look forward to filling in the rest of the car and smoothing up the little imperfections. So that was something I wasn't quite expecting, and I wanted to share with you guys because I just thought it was super cool to see this happen. In honor of fixing the trunk, I decided to use it one more time as a table for body filler because I figured why not? It's all going to get sanded off anyway. Kind of brought back memories. Something I wanted to mention is that in between shots of filling and sanding, usually there's about a 24-hour time period. Just I don't have time for it in one day and have to do it after work when I get home at 8:30 or 9:30. So I just want to let you guys know, as kind of my apology, that I'm not able to get more videos out. It's just a lot of time being put in for not a lot of work, it seems like. So I apologize for that, and I'm just hoping you guys are a little understanding for it, and I am trying to get as much out as I can for you, I promise.